Again, this specific modality is invitational. So when we're doing this, I'm assessing the neural pulse and the invitation, that I'm holding in my heart and my brain is, are you ready to remember your intrinsic well-being? Are you ready to remember that you were safe in the rhythm of life, that you are safe expanding into the rhythm of life? And yes, no, indifferent, every answer the body gives is in perfect timing because everything happens as it should.
Welcome to Room to Evolve. I'm Jessica Goulding. These episodes are here as sources of inspiration to help you notice what might be calling you into something new, even if, or especially if, it doesn't make any sense. When there's a stirring in your heart or a nervousness in your belly, I hope you pause and notice. I hope you enter into a little inquiry around what that might be. It doesn't matter if you're in your 20s figuring things out, or right in the middle of building your life, or on the other side of retirement wondering what's next. Following those inner nudges can lead us to scary thresholds, yes, but also to a more colorful and fulfilling life and purpose. It might not always look grand on the outside, but when it comes from something deep within you, it's exactly enough. Before we meet this month's guest, I want to invite you to visit roomtoevolve.com. This website is where I'm hosting my weekly blog, this podcast, videos you can practice with, and invitations to events, pilgrimages, and retreats. I created it to not just be a website, but a place, a room, where you can step out of the noise and into a quiet space. It's connected to Substack, and I hope you decide to subscribe. That way, you'll receive weekly reflections right in your inbox, along with future posts and resources available only to subscribers. So come on in and say hello by subscribing to Room to Evolve. It's a sanctuary for you and other like-hearted folks to tune out the noise and tune into your spirit. Four years ago, if you suggested I get a massage for stress or relaxation, I would have said thank you, but no thanks. I really didn't like them. Even if I kind of felt okay during the massage, I always left feeling like it was a waste of time. I didn't feel better. I didn't even really feel very different afterwards. They just seemed like something people did for self-care or rehabilitation, and that was fine. Then in 2022, I had a massage that changed everything. I was leading a retreat at Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. One of their massage therapists had a very strong but kind vibe, and I resonated with it. So I booked a session with Paula. I think because I have a strong frame and a fairly muscular body, body workers love to dig in and try to make me feel a deep impact. They didn't make me feel safe or cared for or even heard. But this, with Paula, was different. Her touch was much more light, much slower, and I just melted. I remember saying to her with tears in my eyes, "It's as if you care." She just hummed and continued her graceful work, helping me release unconscious tension and dropping layers of armor inside and out. So imagine my joy when I found someone here in Austin who practices with gentleness, compassion, and deep listening. She doesn't try to press my muscles and fascia into submission. She gently asks permission from my whole system and responds respectfully. She's where I learned all about polyvagal theory and how our skin is the outermost part of our nervous system. She reiterates that our body wants to heal, and it intrinsically knows what it needs. Her name is Danielle Evans, and she's our guest today for this conversation about the nervous system, the spectrum of sensitivity, and what's going on at our deepest level when we talk, hug, or receive a massage. She amazes me with her wealth of knowledge and compassionate view of all those she encounters. Danielle was led to Bodywork during her adolescence, receiving regular reflexology, to which she attributes her easeful acclimation from teenager to young adult. She got her start in bodywork in 2012 when she graduated from the Lauderstein Conway School of Massage. Since then, she's provided therapeutic bodywork full time. She feels incredibly fortunate to have an interwoven lineage of teachers, mentors, and modalities that inform her style. Foundational modalities that anchor her work include Thai or shiatsu style compression work, Swedish sports massage, neuromuscular therapy, craniosacral therapy, and manual therapy for the vagus nerve. Danielle strives to meet each client individually, honoring their uniqueness by drawing from her extensive training to meet their needs of the day. For the last 5 years, she has been focusing more and more on nervous system function. As she says, if the nervous system is responding appropriately, all other systems tend to work well too. Healing is invitational, and she does not believe in using heavy pressure to make someone submit. Rather, she curates space for each person to unravel from the inside and remember their intrinsic well-being. I hope you enjoy this informative, inspiring, and surprising conversation. And I hope it opens a window for you into a whole new room, a new way of addressing your body, listening to your nervous system, and respecting your intrinsic knowledge of what you need to heal. Danielle Evans, welcome to Room to Evolve.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, this conversation has been percolating for quite some time, so I'm very excited to have you here. I go to you for body work, and the part that I love as much as the body work is our conversations before and the processing we do after. So I have come to know you as a very wise and intuitive woman, and also very integrated from all the different modalities that you have studied and learned. This is how I know you're not simply doing, I'm doing air quotes like massage or, rubbing muscles and lubricating ligaments, although you are. But you are also addressing the whole mind, body, and spirit with your work. And you do lots of different kinds like shiatsu and Thai, Swedish sports, deep massage, cranial sacral work. But my favorite is the polyvagal manual therapy. And so that is one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on, because I have just had such great experiences with that. And of course, we can talk about all the things you do. But just to get us started, would you mind telling us what is polyvagal manual therapy and how does it work, or anything that lights you up to say about this practice?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, polyvagal theory is Dr. Stephen Porges' baby theory. Um, and I learned manual therapy for the vagus nerve from a chiropractor, Dr. Jeff Rockwell. And essentially, what we're doing is just like your circulatory system, the nervous system has a pulse, a subtle but palpable pulse. And we can feel that at the neural emergence of the vagus nerve. So the root of vagus means to wander. The vagal nerve emerges from the brain at the back of the head and neck, travels through the entire torso of the body, ending in the pelvic bowl. And it emerges along the spine, upper abdomen, chest, neck, head, and face. And through a very gentle palpation, we can assess the tone of the vagus nerve. So tone means, is the current flowing appropriately? Are we able to shift between the modes? So the vagus nerve is what controls our nervous system. And we have 3 modes we can be in: social connection, which is hopefully where you and I are right now; sympathetic, which is fight, flight, freeze, fawn; and the parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, heal. And in our current culture, just coming at it from a broad stroke, we are bombarded with signals of stress and danger daily, and that leads to a lot of people running on a sympathetic track. So mild to moderate hypervigilance. Um, and when we're in that mode, especially chronically, it can be difficult to get into the social connection or the parasympathetic modes. And so, manual therapy, depending on your life experience, pre birth to now, helps to unravel that kind of story of needing to be hypervigilant all of the time. And that's what tone means, is like we can be sympathetic when we need to be, like running out of the pathway of a vehicle or something like that, but that we can then shift into social connection or parasympathetic, as is called by life. So,
It
yeah.
reminds me of after you practice yoga for a long time, you gain the ability to be able to do a forward bend to a back bend to a forward bend. But at first, you got to go slow, work your way up, work your way back down. So this sounds like
Yes.
the nervous system's the same. I haven't heard of the social connection mode of the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very familiar with the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
So you just threw a new one at me that I want to know more about. So, because it
Yeah.
seems pretty relevant to a lot of the conversations going on in the world today.
Totally, totally. I will say I am not like an expert at
Yeah.
this, but yeah, so and I kind of feel like some wiggle room myself, like how do I want to say this? You know, we compartmentalize because that's like easier to learn that way,
Mhm.
right? Um, but there are at least these three kind of modes that we can be in. And I think that there is a lot there that we could unravel. Again, I'm not a neurologist, I don't know the full scope, but I think a lot of it has to do with our constitution, um, you know, endocrine system, etc., as far as like how are we perceiving reality, um, how do we perceive our place in reality, and yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, when you think about like if you need to rest or digest, or if you need to be in these fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like there would be this third space at least
Yeah.
where we are, yeah, conversing and communicating and
And you have to
yeah.
be, alert enough to carry on the conversation, take in information, put it back. So you're drawing a little bit from that alert energy, but also relax enough to actually hear what they're saying, feel
Mm,
that connection. I'm thinking of oxytocin, that connecting
mm-hmm.
hormone that comes up when you're really in good, deep it's that happens between everybody, not just moms and babies, right? Like
Totally.
that's the feeling. That's the feeling
Totally.
hormone. So
Yes.
social connection through the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm wondering, when you're working with a body,
Mm-hmm.
a person, I know there's a human in there, but like we're talking about how the body works. So, do you go in with an agenda or is it more being led? So, like, or both? Like in a
Yeah,
yoga class, we'll say, like, what's our intention? And then things unfold, So,
absolutely.
tell me a little bit about the effort and surrender piece of what you do.
Anytime we're interfacing with another body, whether you're a body worker or not, you are doing nervous system work together. Um,
Like
so
mirroring? Is that a
kind
yeah?
of, but like literally anytime, like when we hug, we we are downloading from one another
Mm.
information about the environments that we've both been in. Um, yeah, there's a lot being exchanged. So anytime we make contact, we are doing nervous system work. And sometimes the way that I put that into perspective is when we are developing in the womb, the first cellular split that occurs comes from this very primitive group of cells called the ectoderm. And these cells, the first cellular split, one cell goes to make brain and spinal cord, the other cell makes the skin. And from that split, like the skin migrates out, and that's the boundary towards which everything else develops. And this explains like why something like traditional Chinese medicine is effective, is because the skin is the most superficial part of your brain, or the brain is the deepest part of your skin, depending on how you want to look at it. Yeah, and so in my lineage of training, things like shiatsu and Thai and meridian style work, again, these are not woo-woo terms, even though, like, for instance, Chinese medicine has been practiced since before Christ. They just somehow intuited, like, these are neural pathways, fascial pathways, that when we stimulate the skin, we can get change in the whole body.
I didn't realize it was so skin oriented.
Yeah, well, you are still, again, compartmentalization is great for learning, but yeah, the
I see.
skin is this circuit board.
It's the brain.
And
So when someone is highly sensitive, maybe to like tags in their shirt or, a mosquito in the ear, like people who have greater sensitivity, mosquito in the ear is more sound, but, to touch maybe, or even the feeling of food in their mouth. There's people who are hypersensitive about the way things feel on their body. Does that give you any information about how their skin and brain is connecting, or what is that saying is going on in the whole system?
totally, sensitivity, it's there. It's in the one word of, like,
Oh,
I'm
sense.
sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe, I've done a lot of studying as far as like the metabolic system and the endocrine system. I believe that the divine design of the human body, that we are actually designed to be resilient. And when someone comes in with those sort of sensations and symptoms, it signals to me that they are already, like, stressed in one way or the other, whether it be emotional stress, environmental stressors, etc. Um, with someone like that, there are kind of slow wading into the pool slowly methods that I would work with them. Um, yeah, and oftentimes when I'm working with someone like that, they know, like, this is not something that I'm enjoying, and how do I unravel this?
When
So
you say
with
this, you mean what the manual there?
hypersensitivity,
Oh,
yeah,
they're not. Yeah,
hypersensitivity.
yeah.
Yeah, so there are things that they can do themselves, different exercises. We can start with very distal work. So, like, let's say, I worked with a woman once who, like, really did not like touch at all. And she came to me and said just that, and knew that it was, for her, it was a problem.
Hmm.
Like, she knew, I want to change this. And so for her, we started just working on her feet, fully clothed, 30-minute session, just doing feet. And then very slowly, over building a repertoire together, that shifted to where we could do, an hour and then full body. And yeah, I think it's important to realize that the body remembers, truly does, pre-birth to now, every experience, every impact, physical, emotional, spiritual. And we are vibrational beings. Um, we metabolize through vibration. We express through vibration. So, speaking, laughter, crying, shaking, dancing, throwing a tantrum, these are all ways that we let go of energy. And um, many people end up with stories that are informing their reality of, like, let's just take the tantrum as an example. Even if you have the most lovely parents, let's say mom is out shopping for Thanksgiving dinner and she's at Whole Foods and it's bananas in there, and you're 3 years old and you're frustrated and you let that go. Like, your mother might put a cap on it and say, like, no, not right now. Well, that programs, especially the pre-birth to 7, that programs the subconscious of, like, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And so when we're doing body work, we have the opportunity and the invitation to look at some of these narratives and notice, is this true? Like, is it really not okay to be frustrated, or is it really not okay to cry? Um, yeah, and depending on how deep people want to go into that, the body, like I said, it does keep the score pre-birth to now.
Yeah.
So
Like earlier you said, when you give someone a hug, you're kind of downloading everything that that body has been doing, what in um like how they got there, like you give somebody a hug and you're
yes,
like, "Ooh, there's something in me that knows, well, you've been in traffic," or, "Ooh,
yes,
your day has been rough."
yes,
And I assume that's a spectrum where, of sensitivity, of
yeah.
either by choice of like, I don't really want to, I don't know how much of it is our choice, our
Well,
sensitivity.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember the doctor that I heard speak on this. I want to say his name is Dr. Zach Bush. Talked about, like, the biological exchange of a hug. There are studies done, like, in um, cold and flu season, that if you get, I can't remember if it's like 7 or 10 hugs a day from
I,
different people,
yeah, I
that
recommend 8. Yeah.
yeah, that you're, like, I don't know, like 80 to 90% less likely to get ill. And that's because we are exchanging information and our immune systems are, like, able to be more resilient, um,
Wow.
to what we may encounter in our little nucleus. Because if you're hugging someone today, that means that they're somewhere around you, generally speaking. They might not, maybe they fly to LA or something, but generally speaking, the people you'll be hugging are very micro local. I see that it really can be so broad depending on exactly what you said, being how sensitive you are, if you're highly empathetic, which is a nervous system response, being highly empathetic. That means you're taking micro reads off of people.
I mean, you're making me think of us like trees. You know how trees share all that information in the roots once, and
Yes.
they like send information about the disease that's coming. And I mean, that makes me feel like kind of a tree or an alien that without
Yes.
knowing it, we're sharing some environmental information that can be helpful.
Yes, yes. And I love Tree. I love Alien too, but I think really what we're fighting is this narrative of, like, a subconscious narrative that we are not nature, and we are. Like, I may be in this air climate controlled place and I might have water in my home and all of these gadgets and stuff, but when push comes to shove, I am the daughter of nature and God. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of reflections in the natural world that reinforce that and help us to remember.
Mhm.
Because my story is that a lot of our neurosis or pain comes from that, yeah, dismembering of our place in the rhythm of life.
Yeah, that's one of the phrases that you use that I love, and the other one. We're going to come to that in a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
remembering intrinsic well-being. That we are
Yes.
that you've said so many things to me, but one of them includes the body wants to heal,
Mm-hmm.
and this is remembering intrinsic well-being, which means there's something to forgetting. So what does it feel like when someone, to you, maybe you're working with someone, what does it feel like when you can sense that they're starting to remember? Or what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like? Or what's the experience of that? You
Yeah,
also use
there.
the word unraveling
Mm-hmm.
in that same
Yeah,
display. Yeah. Unraveling
yeah.
what's inside.
Yes, I think to me, remembering often happens in that disconnection, or sometimes I'll use the word calcification. So, um, well, how do I want to? First, I want to say when, especially when we are highly sympathetic in the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all of our energy goes to looking like scanning the environment for the proverbial tiger. So that energy first comes back into ourselves. Um, there is a quality of, yeah, that decalcification. Another part of that sympathetic track is like if you've required heavy pressure in bodywork past, it can be an indicator that you are on the sympathetic track because your ability to propriocept yourself, meaning consciously feel like I can feel contact on my forearm, is diminished because you are so outwardly looking for danger.
Okay.
Um,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. I have a question about that. Am I interrupting your train of thought though? I don't
no,
want
you
to
can
do
go
that.
ahead. I'll remember.
Um, because without saying this good that bad, I like there's zero
Mm-hmm,
judgment as to how people want to be treated in their bodies, and there are some of
mm-hmm,
us who only want to be like barely touched or manipulated, and there are some who want like that deep tissue, like go in there and go get it. And
mm-hmm.
so you're saying that just has to do, or part of what it has to do is, it sounds to me like if you want to be dug into, that there's some protective things happening, or maybe that's what you
Totally.
mean by calcification.
Yes. Yes. I mean that there is already an armoring, physically and emotionally. Um, yeah, I had a wonderful teacher, David Lauderstein, who would say, deep is a place, heavy is a pressure. And I am here to tell you, I have been full-time body worker since 2013. And in these 13 years, I can attest to the very deepest work that I have ever given and received has been like on the surface level, a sort of doing, not doing. So things like craniosacral, is also a modality that is focused on the synovial fluid pulse.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and again, this is just my own noticing. People who want heavy pressure almost always have a proprioception issue where they are not actually connected to their body. They're very cerebral. You know, a generalization here, but like lawyers or people that are like very up here and don't, maybe they never tap into their body with any kind of intentional practice.
Yeah, they haven't been
Um,
asked to, they haven't been shown to. It's not part of who they are. And
yes,
it might have been conceived that, that might hold them back. So that's just where they
yes,
are for
yes,
on that spectrum. Yeah. I think people
yes.
can get it like, yeah, that's me. Like some people are going to raise their hand. Like that's me. I'm very in my head and I want somebody digging in those muscles. So just to
Mhm.
reiterate, it doesn't mean you've done anything wrong or bad, but
Totally,
we're just talking
totally.
about what's going on in the body there. Because it is interesting that
Yes,
there's a spectrum. Yeah.
totally. And I think, the other thing that I'll say is like pressure. Well, first off, you are made at a molecular level. The percentage varies depending on who you're talking to, but at a molecular level, like 99.9% water. And when we're talking about water, um, these are scientific terms. There's like dead water, which comes out of your tap, when you turn on your faucet. And then there is structured water, which is like our bodies, live springs. fruits and vegetables, those are all structured water. And sometimes people call it gel water. So if at a molecular level we are water, like you don't punch through the water that you're trying to swim through, right? And I think that's kind of my lineage and approach to the body is I don't have to heavy pressure. It's not like I'm breaking up rock. I'm actually not doing that. And especially if we can slow down and the person receiving is game for this. That can unravel from inside. Whatever condensed space can begin to flow. Sometimes the metaphors that I would use are like, this is like a sticky mud, and like, how do we get the interstitium and the fluids like vitally flowing again?
Mm-hmm.
And my baseline principles are, we can use firm pressure, but this is not a game of submission. And I believe if you're walking away bruised, you are receiving way too much pressure in your session. If you're, it's honestly, I've heard some pretty horrible stories of like even people that you would think would have more knowledge, like physical therapists and even chiropractors and stuff, like using this intense practice that is ultimately going to be received as the receiver. If you are thinking more than once, like, wow, this is intense, your body is responding like
It's
defensively
going to
and like,
guard,
yes.
protect.
And then you just get
Yeah.
tighter. So it's like a snowball.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I can see that. You you just mentioned it has nothing to do with submission,
Mm-hmm.
and something that has come up almost every time in our sessions is more the word permission. Like you
Mm-hmm.
thought, you would put your hand near somewhere and kind of ask my body for permission to go and work in that area, and sometimes you get a yes and sometimes you get a no. Can you talk a little bit about what does that mean? Like you must be, I mean, I'm even moving like it's fluid, like we're having this almost fluid exchange of information. But
Mm-hmm.
what is it like to pick up on someone's body saying yes or no,
Mm-hmm.
or what's happening
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So there's a lot that informs, again, just like we're saying, like when we are in physical space together, especially when we are making physical contact, but even beyond that, they say like the actual measurable field of the heart can be like 6 feet outside of your body. So if we are in the vicinity, we're already doing this dance. Um, there can, some of the working signs that I'm looking for specifically when it comes to the polyvagal manual therapy, um, digestive noises or movement, change in heart rate or breath rate, sighing, swallowing, clearing the throat, neural twitching throughout the body, but especially in the face,
And that means things are
memories.
calming down, right? Things are,
That, yeah, those are symptoms that your nervous system has it's picked up the phone. Like we're talking and we are trying, again, this specific modality is invitational. So when we're doing this, I'm assessing the neural pulse, and the invitation, I mean, that I'm holding in my heart and my brain is, are you ready to remember your intrinsic well-being? Are you ready to remember that you were safe in the rhythm of life, that you are safe expanding into the rhythm of life? And yes, no, indifferent, every answer the body gives is in perfect timing because everything happens as it should. And again, just because you end up on my table today and we spend an hour together, we have your whole life, again, pre-birth to now. And if you really want to get into it, it's like the epigenetic stuff too, of at least 13 generations before, all of their blessings and burdens are written into the DNA and informing the subconscious story of your place in the world and how you can interact with reality. So yeah, so specifically when we're doing these sessions, there are a lot of cues that I get from the body, and each hold for this work is generally 30 seconds to a minute. Um, and if you're not picking up the phone, that's fine. Like, let's say like upper rib, I'm holding the upper rib. This is a very sensitive place, both physically and emotionally. If I'm there and the texture is taut, it is kind of that calcified feeling,
Mhm.
that's just you saying no. And no is a beautiful, it's a beautiful one word
Necessary word.
response.
Yeah.
Yes. To be able to say no and to honor that.
Mhm.
Um, is tremendous, because this is one of the first things that we learn in our development, like 3, 4 years old. If you've been around that age of a person, know and how often they get to say no and how often that is honored. It's yeah, it's like you're at the will. It is a question of free will. And so, especially when it comes to body work, we can unravel like, hey, if it's a no, it's a no, and we can move on. There are many territories, just like the big wide world. Your body has many territories, and if one place is a no, and it can be a no for as long as it wants to. So there's no judgment on my part, and there's also no savior complex on my part, which I think you can find in body workers and any person that does any kind of therapeutic work.
Yeah.
I think we have to be careful with who we are working with, because the only healer is the self. I can only facilitate a space and an invitation, and you can yes, no, indifferent that invitation, and that's a beautiful thing, and I honor that because that's your process.
I think
Yeah.
that is so perfectly put. Like the modalities that I work with, yoga therapy, chakra work, labyrinth, they're all kind of spaces for the person to do their own healing. Like if you have a yoga therapy practice, it's not because I'm this genius that said, hey, lift your arm and breathe in and then exhale, put it down. It's you working with that movement and breath together and deciding, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then that intrinsic healing comes out. Or
Mm-hmm.
just, I tend to over orchestrate some of my labyrinth walks, shocker. But
Mm-hmm.
all you have to do is walk. And in that journey is when the yeses and the nos come, and the nervous system does shift down, like you're saying. It's almost like that walk on the earth is like a touch from the body worker. It's just, you're just
Yes.
moving along and letting yourself, I love the way you say unravel from the inside. And I mean, doesn't that make sense to the language we use around our body? Like my gut is in knots and you're saying unravel.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
all right there. How does this kind of work and way of thinking affect you and your relationships and things like that? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Honestly, learning about the nervous system has, oh, it's like bringing up emotion. Like I can really feel my heart expanding considering the question. It has made me feel so much compassion and grace for literally every person that I meet. The short headline on that is, I truly believe if I lived your experience, Jessica, pre-birth to now, I would have made every single decision that you have made. I would have made every adaptation. And that's true literally for every single person out there. I really believe that we are all doing our best with the abundance or lack of love, the abundance or lack of resource. And while it might be maladaptive, while we might make maladaptive choices from the perspective and the position and the reality tunnel that someone is living, I just intrinsically know that I would be doing the exact same thing. And that grace and compassion, even when it comes to like being in traffic and someone is driving like a jerk, it's like, who knows? Like, I use that example because, often if we have suppressed anger and we don't feel comfortable with our anger, that can be one inconsequential place that we can be like, rah, 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 and safe inside our little steel box. Or maybe they're rushing off to the hospital to
Yeah.
say goodbye to someone. And we just don't know. We literally don't know. And I've got goosebumps in that not knowing. And it just helps me check myself. Like if I'm met with someone who is presenting with, wow, you're really sympathetic. You're clearly high strung, clearly hypervigilant. There are a lot of cues non-verbally. And I'm not in a place of privilege. Like we all are constantly having a nonverbal conversation with each other. And yeah, so it's given like more grace to strangers, but then also especially to the people that I'm close to myself, and just recognizing, my own maladaptive patterns and what really getting into the marrow of like, why would I, XYZ 1, 2, 3, and then finding ways to support myself, whether that means like doing yoga or doing vagal exercises, or I'm a really big fan of something called bioenergetics, which they are movements, exercises that really tap into that vibrational aspect of the rhythm of life, and that vibrational work shedding some of the armoring so that we can feel less fearful, so that we can feel more comfortable with anger, etc.
Yeah, and it can be so simple. It's really just a practice of shaking the body down and
Truly,
moving things, like just moving the energy through.
truly.
What you're saying, it's resonating with. It's funny. You got to hear some things a few times. But I was on a walk with my friend, Dr. Deb Kern. I've had her on previous episodes, and we were talking about politics and that kind of thing. And we're on the same side of the fence, I'd say. But what she offered was something that sounds exactly like you're saying. And hers was, I try to remember that if I believed and had the information that you did, I too would come to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can like see each other that way, I've just started the practice, and it's helpful. It's not habitual.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to just say, oh, yes, of course. So what you're saying, I mean, I have to reiterate what it said because it's so beautiful that you look at someone and you say, if I had lived your life, I would have made all the same choices.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we'd like to say, well, I wouldn't have done that. Well, yeah, but you're not them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to just say like this, but when you see it happen in real time, it's a real thing of like, you don't know. It's, are you standing in actually in their shoes? Well, like
Yeah.
I've got two other things. One,
Yes.
I cannot finish this interview without saying my favorite thing that you've ever said. And we've hit a lot on it, but I'm just going to invite you to expand it. And that is, the nervous system responds to a whisper.
Yes.
Because when you said that, my
Yes.
heart melted and I was like, it made me want to cry. Just like,
Mm.
yes,
Yeah,
because you were the first gentle massage I received. No, second. Because it was the first one that made me go, oh, I need it to be gentle. And
mm-hmm.
then when our first meeting, you said, well, the nervous system responds to a whisper. I was like, please whisper. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you just tell me
Yeah,
a little bit more about that?
totally,
I want
totally.
everyone to know about this.
Uh, um, Again, this, I really can speak to my experience of seeing this on the table and also receiving it. Um, I'll kind of side travel here in homeopathic medicine. So homeopathic medicine is like very micro dose either minerals or plant matter dosing. And they call it the Ardent Schultz law in homeopathy. And I think it definitely is prevalent in the way that I work and see body work happen. So Ardent Schultz talks about different stimulus and how the physiology is responding. So if I use heavy stimulus, I am inhibiting the body. If I use moderate stimulus, I am suppressing. So I've got like a little bit of physiological response, but it's still suppressed. If I am lightly stimulating, I am exciting the body.
It's like
And
it's a little knock on the door draws the energy forward.
yes, yes.
Oh,
And
like you whisper and somebody has to lean in.
yes,
So your nervous system
yes.
leans in.
Yes, exactly. And again, I think a lot of this comes down to, yeah, like invitational or submission.
I'm going to ask you the last question, which I've been asking all my guests. Um, and that is, a lot about this podcast is about hearing a call, passing a threshold, acknowledging moments in your life that need to be acknowledged, or that one decision made all the difference, or a change of heart, just to practice awareness of these times in our life. The question is, what is a threshold moment in your life that you
Mm,
would be able to share with us?
mm. Yeah. Well, admittedly, like my brain went to like the biggest threshold that I just went through recently, um, which was grief and loss. Um, Headline last year, I lost three close people to me, and all within like less than a year's time. And it's interesting, the analogy that I used that feels like most fitting is like at the table of life. Um, it's in those, especially grief, there are kind of two poles. One that totally retracts and is like, I've lost my appetite. I do not want another bite. And then the other is, wow, isn't this amazing that I get to taste the intricate layers of flavor in this experience? And I think that most threshold moments, at least with the folks that I've talked to and shared that analogy with, it is fitting. It's like, it's that difference between calcifying by like pushing your plate away and be like, no more, or really going forth with that sacred heart energy and allowing life to happen. Um, because seasons come and go, and no season is better than the others. It's like grief for me was very autumn and winter, and it's like all of the energy went back into myself. And then what happens is, the energy rises with spring, and then new buds happen, and really life is expansion, contraction. That is the rhythm of life. And to go with grace, yeah, I think I really try to balance those two poles of,
Mm.
I honor when I feel retracted, but I really try to strive also to remember, like, this is an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I'm like getting choked up even just
Yeah.
thinking about it. Like, I love you, Jessica. I get to love you. I get to reflect with so many beautiful, delicious people who all have different stories. Like, this is the best drama you could possibly have.
Yeah.
There's no better story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That is so beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that because
Yeah.
it's not, grief is hard to talk about for a lot of
Mhm.
us. And,
Mhm.
you're reminding me of like a bathroom floor moment where my heart is breaking. And yet sometimes I want to be there because I felt so deeply. The veil was parted and it was like, this is the stuff of life,
Mhm. Mhm.
and not to, not to make light of anybody's experience if they're like, I don't want to be in that moment. I totally get that. Nobody does. But
Mhm.
sometimes it reveals, like you're saying, such a beautiful spectrum. And
Mhm.
all of those maybe are available at each threshold. Like
Mhm.
which door are you going to choose? Right? You want to engage with
Mhm.
this experience and let it form you and change you and make you someone who can be of service to others that go through this same doorway? Or do you want
Mhm.
to keep that door locked?
Mhm.
And, you
Mhm.
have to ask permission to enter either door. If we're to go
Mhm.
with the conversation we've been having, like just knock and you'll know, is this a time to not go through that door? Or is this a time to go open through that door?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, see, this is why I wanted you on because this is where we end up. Are
This
these?
was so stimulating and pleasurable. Thank you so
Yeah. Thank you
much.
so much for sharing your mind and your heart and your smile and your energy and knowledge and intuition with us.
Mm.
How can people get a hold of you? You're here in the Austin area. You do body work here,
Yes.
and you have a website. What's your website?
I think I gave it to you
Yes, I
for
did.
show
Yeah,
notes. And then
mhm. In the show notes for sure.
you can find me on Instagram, kind of general musings. I do keep it loosely bodywork focused.
I like your
Um,
Instagram. You were
Thank you. Sister Moon Shadow.
Sister
Mm-hmm.
Moon Shadow. Yes, on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram.
Um, yeah, and yeah, I practice in kind of central West Austin. Um, any new folks listening, I'm offering a discount for first session, so I would love to work with folks.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So if you mention this podcast, then you'll get, what'd you say, $20 off a session?
yes,
I mean, oh, 20%.
20%. Yes,
20%
20%.
off sessions because you have different um, amounts of
Tiers.
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
So thank you for that generous offer. I'm
Of
sure you
course.
so I look forward to more people getting to experience what you do. And if you don't live in the Austin area, then maybe you'll seek out another body worker who does polyvagal
Mhm.
therapy like this and just
Mhm.
get a good vibe.
Yeah, if that's not available, because it is like a lesser known modality or like it hasn't proliferated like others, I would say craniosacral is a great second, um, yeah, like a good backup, a good
Yeah.
alternative. And just remember, I would say, like, if you're working with people, to remember, like, you are the person in control on the table. It is a time for remembering, for re education. And if you're on the table and you feel, like I said, if the thought comes more than once, like this is intense, that's a sign that the body needs less. And
Mhm.
you're always welcome to say that to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's helpful to to the practitioner.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
even
It's not
I'm,
offensive to say, that's a bit much.
well, and if it is, then we're tapping into the savior complex. But I will just speak to my own. Like, I have received pretty consistent work since I was 8 years old. And even now, if especially if I have a few choice people that I work with generally, but if I'm working with someone new, I can be on the table and it's like there's like a 5 year old me, like, is this okay to say that I don't want this? And it's like, it's always okay to say. And it's
Yeah.
actually really important to say that
On
when
so many
that
levels.
feeling,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Well,
So
thank you so much, Danielle. I
thank
appreciate you being
you.
here,
Thank you,
and
Jessica.
we'll see you again soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. If something in this conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to stay connected. You can visit runetoevolve.com, where you'll find my weekly blog, more podcast episodes, and practices to support you in your own unfolding. If you haven't already, You can subscribe there to receive reflections and resources straight to your inbox. It's a simple way to stay in the conversation and continue exploring what's calling you forward. And if this episode spoke to you, feel free to share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps others find their way into this space. Next up, I'll be sharing a Labyrinth Walk companion inspired by this conversation. So if you're feeling the nudge to move, reflect, and integrate, that will be a beautiful place to continue. And as you go, may you trust what is stirring within you, even if it doesn't yet make sense. May you have the courage to follow the quiet call and the patience to let it unfold in its own time. Much love.